Here's my action and reflection based off our course objectives for the course. Obviously, there are strengths and weaknesses that I still think I have, but I think I've come a long way, and this class has really opened my eyes to all the technology that is out there. I'm really appreciative of it because my school has a lot of technology access, and I feel as though I don't take advantage of it the way that I can. So, this action plan was a great way for me to reflect on that. One of my strengths is that I feel as though that I am more informed about these teaching and learning tools that I can incorporate in my classroom. I cannot tell you how my knowledge of all of them has widened. I was very limited and I basically only did what others did in my school, but I'm so happy that I now have something that I can bring to the table. So, one engaging tool that I liked that I put in my action plan was Notability, the other was Padlet, and then Google Classroom. I feel as though that these provide students with great opportunities to share their work um, and their ideas with one another. It promotes the collaboration aspect and communication aspect, and I just feel as though it will also build their critical thinking because of it, which is why the 4C's is also another strength for me. Um, I've always been kind of creative, but Notability has so much to offer that this in Padlet, where they can share their work, they can put everything on there, they can comment to everyone, and I kind of want the student my lesson to be more students led than teacher led because I am finding that my students are heavily reliant on teacher assistance this year, and I do not want to have that happen next year. So I think this is a great way to start where the students can solve problems on an iPad, but also record a video and share it with their classmates if anyone needs help. I think the skills between Padlet and Google Classroom and the Notability features is a great way to share work and collaborate with one another, which is why I said those were some of my strengths. Another strength of mine is the knowing the standards, primarily the ISTE standards. The Massachusetts standards I had seen before, but I never really got into teaching the ethical standards. I was more about how students learn from technology. I do feel stronger though with the ISTE standards because I'm more aware of what is expected of me, and that kind of pushes me. Modeling is a huge thing for students, and you never really know that until you're put in a position. For example, I would tell my students to move their desks into groups, but they would all push them at the same time. So that's why for this technology in my action plan, it's going to take some time for my students to learn. And I know it's going to take some time for me to learn. So it's important that I show them models, appropriate models for them to do, modeling how I create it, just so they are aware of my expectations. So I think that's huge. Teachers don't realize, I guess, how much of a role model that they are to students and how much they take literally from you. So I think modeling is huge, which is why that's part of my action plan when I introduce Notability and the video aspect to them. They've already been exposed to Padlet, but I think it's important for them to know how to post on it so I can model to them my previous Padlets. Um, so that's really important for me. Also, teachers are lifelong learners just like students, and we have to also take that into consideration and not just get stuck in that rut, which is why I'm trying to use Notability and Padlet and Google Classroom in a totally different way because I've only been told how to use it when teachers create it rather than students actually using them. I'm also aware of what we want students to accomplish, how to use the internet appropriately, what we want them to do on the internet, how we want them to use the internet, how we research. So that was a big thing that helped guide that would guide my lessons in this action plan and what I would want my students to accomplish each day. I also think I'm pretty strong in the SAMR model now. I had never heard of that before, but it was great because I think this was the best tool that made me reflect on all of my previous lessons that I've done this past year with technology. I would say most of my lessons were in the substitution and augmentation phase, and I want them to get to the higher phases. I feel as though I did a lot of technology and substituted in technology for games instead of paper games or board games, but I feel as though I never gave the opportunity for my students to collaborate and communicate with one another, which is why I created this action plan of having the students share their ideas, share their work with one another, and build off of what they say. So I was going to have students make videos that told how to solve decimals using specific operations. I wasn't going to introduce it to them. I was going to have the students be able to research it on their own, and then they would have to post a video on our class Padlet for everyone to access. I think it's just a great way for students to learn from one another, and I think it's a great way for the students to be independent and critically thinking on, okay, how do I break down the problem? How do I make it easier for my classmates to understand? What examples should I give? And I'm really starting to think of how I can incorporate more of these projects in longer assignments, because I feel like I'm very rushed with all the tests we have to teach, but I think this is very valuable for the students to do. And technology is changing constantly. My school has brand new technology every year that they want us to try out. We had an interactive textbook that was thrown at us last year, and that was kind of why I wanted to do this action plan. The students did not like the interactive textbook. They thought there was a lizard that was teaching it. They thought the lizard was really boring, and I think it would just be fun for them to learn from one another, which is why I think that Notability would be a great option for them to do that and show their work. Obviously, when there are strengths, there come weaknesses, and this is all brand new to me, so I don't expect to have this happen overnight, but that is a weakness of mine. Is I see something, I love it, and I want to master it in the next day, but I know that's unrealistic and I get frustrated with that. So that's something that I know I need to work on. I know that's not an objective, but that's huge for this action plan because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. The students aren't going to grasp it overnight. I'm not going to grasp it overnight. We have to that's why I think the action steps were great for me, because that are small goals that I can reach, rather than looking at the long term, since I love just having things done. But as I mentioned before, technology infused lessons are great. And as I was looking back on it, I thought I was doing them, but apparently I wasn't. I kind of was just using technology. I wasn't really affecting anything or using the content for it. So I want to make sure I'm using technology that really impacts the content that the students are learning, and that's why I created this action plan of using Notability for them to create things on their own, and sharing it with one another. I think that's really beneficial because I'm not going to be the one that's going to tell them how to do everything. It would be a video so they can figure it out from there. And I think that really would make them more of an independent learner, which is great for fifth grade students. And once again, my last one is just addressing the challenges technology can bring, because I think this is something that I never really thought of. And I know I mentioned it before, the ethical aspect behind it. I never really addressed how to research online, safety online. I always kind of left that to like the librarian because she had a presentation, but that's something that I should know, because now that I know more online tools I can use, it's beneficial for me to tell the students what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what my expectations are. So I know that is something that I can brush up on. And I'm definitely excited too, because I would love to do this in the beginning of the year next year. And if I can establish all of this with them in the beginning of the year next year, then it will be a great foundation for the rest of the year. This class has truly been beneficial, and I'm really excited to see where this action plan goes next year. And I can't wait to address it with my colleagues, because they're always looking for new ways to incorporate technology. So I'm really appreciative of everything I've learned from this class.